All right, so yesterday we cracked open this pre-release pack and got what was inside. The core of which are these 6 Modern Horizons 3 boosters and this pre-release promo. And we're gonna use all of these to build a sealed deck, just like you'll be doing at the Modern Horizons 3 pre-release. And I'm gonna go start to finish with basically no cuts between, just to show you exactly how I build a sealed deck and where my mind kind of goes. So I'm gonna move this deck box out of the way and let's get started. So the first thing, just to recap, is our pre-release card here. It was Amphibian Downpour. So you'll see that before you get anything else, which is always nice to know what you've got. It's a Storm Aura, so that's kind of wacky. But let's start by cracking open all these packs. Now, I do something a little bit sacrilegious. People have commented about this before, which is I open up all of the packs first. Why do I do that? I know, of course, you're excited to go back and see what your rares are and what cool stuff you got. But the reason why I do it all at once like this is because I want to be able to help out the store. I want the store to have all the garbage in one stack ready to go, so they don't have to come around multiple times to grab all the trash out. You can still put it in one stack like this and slowly look at your rares if you want to. That's really cool. But yeah, just doing it this way gets all the trash on the table at once. So if someone is going through to clean up your store, or a judge or someone similar, it's all here already. They just come by just like this and nicely take it and set it aside. Bam! Look how smooth and easy that was. Okay, next thing I want to do is I want to sort my cards by color. So I'm going to go through the stack and I'm just going to grab each section of color. Now, the way I do it is I find all the cards of a certain... Ooh, that's gorgeous. Check out Kudo right there in this profile treatment. That's pretty cool looking. I like to go and find all the cards of each color first. People have told me before in the comments that, ooh, that's cool looking too. I love seeing all this fun booster fun in here. You know, I've just play tested with the cards a bunch, so I haven't actually seen a lot of these booster fun cards in my hand. I've just seen, pieces of paper with the cards' names on them, so it's fun to actually get the real ones like this. I go through and I grab all the cards of each color. Orm's Chant, man, what a throwback. I grab all the cards of each color and pull them out one at a time. Some people say this is faster, or sorry, some people say this is slower. I believe this to be faster. Maybe what I should do is make a time trial video where I try it both ways and we just compare once and for all what the fastest way of doing it is. If you think that'd be a fun video, let me know in the comments down below, and maybe I'll try and record that where I just open up a bunch of booster packs and try and sort them. I have to pick some set that's really doesn't have a lot of weird stuff going on, like maybe OTJ, Outlaws of Thunder Junction might actually be a good choice. This set's a little weird because of all the Eldrazi and stuff like that, but maybe there's another set that would be a really good fit for. If you have any suggestions, let me know in the comments down below. I guess I could grab an old core set, just a bunch of packs of that for my closet, and I don't need to be looking at these. A bunch of packs of that for my closet, and just open up a bunch of them and try and see which way of sorting is faster. Could be a fun future video. Maybe we'll have to give that a try. Anyway, so just kind of sort by color here. So the reason why I want to sort by color is I just want to see how much of each color I have, and be able to kind of go through them color by color and identify what the strongest cards are, which is what we're going to do here in just a moment. Now, as a reminder, what we're looking for at the end is to be able to build a 40-card deck. You can borrow as many lands as you want from the store. That's not a problem, or any basic lands at least. So really you're going to be looking for about 23 or so playable spells, creatures, lands, and so on. Creatures, instant sorceries, and so on. And then add 17 lands from that. So you're really looking for 23 playable cards. So you're certainly not going to play with all the cards you open. You're not even going to play with all the cards in your colors, almost certainly. So you get a lot of room to be able to maneuver in sealed, which is nice. Okay, there's a ton of multicolored cards here. So I sort all these out by the 5 colors, and then I kind of put these lands, basic lands, art cards, just set over to the side here. But any non-basic lands, I'll put in a stack. Any multicolored cards, I'll put in a stack. Hybrid cards, I mean, these are tricky in this set because you have these hybrid cards on one side and then these lands on the other side. I would just put these in your multicolored stack. We'll get to those in a second. These guys are also kind of tricky. These are colorless Eldrazi with a lined color, this is a cycling on it. For me, I would probably mostly play this in a blue deck, but you could play it in any deck, so I'll put it in the colorless section over here, but kind of know where my bread is buttered. If it is a color aligned land like Cephalid Coliseum, I'll put it in the color stack here because I'm not going to play it unless I am that color. Where Shattered Landscape, I might play in any one of these if I'm two of these three colors, for example. So that'll go over here. This is a colorless mana required card. I'm going to put this in the colorless stack to not make things too confusing, but keep in mind for any colorless mana cards, you actively need colorless mana, not generic mana. You need specifically colorless mana. These Deceptive Landscape, for example, would make that. Any of these landscapes will make it. Snow-Covered Wastes, if you choose to play that, would make it, but you need colorless mana. So I know a lot of people are used to just playing with generic mana. That is different. So don't get tricked by it. These are all multicolored as well, and this will go in the green stack. Okay, so I've got all these sorted out. So I've got my lands up here. I've got this huge stack of multicolored cards here. I've got these artifacts here. We'll come to multicolor at the end. I'm going to put these in Wooburg order, so white, blue, black, red, and green, because I've been doing this too long and I care about that. That's my strong rationale. Okay, so now they're all sorted. Let's look through them by color. And what I try and do when I look through them by color is just identify a few things. Generally strong cards, like how many huge bombs are there in this color? How much evasion do I have? So flying and so on. And then, of course, removal. Like, what are the strong cards? What I like to do is kind of go through and just pull out the cards I think would really pull me into that color. Because at, like, the baseline level, a lot of colors are going to be equivocal in terms of just, like, the filler cards. But what are the strong things that will really pull me in here? So this Monumental Hedge is a totally solid card. It's a way to get a bit of card advantage on a land, which is nice, but not a reason to pull me into white necessarily. This is a great aggressive creature, the Hexgold Slith. Orm's Chant, not super strong. Maybe you'll have a deck that'll want to play it, but it's not getting me super stoked or anything like that. The Voltstorm Angel is great. It's 5 mana, 4/4 flyer, which is always pretty decent and limited. And then it also gives you 3 energy counters, which you could then use to give your other creatures a bonus or give it vigilance and lifelink. So pretty strong card, kind of like almost a 1-turn Baneslayer Angel that turns into a mini-turn Baneslayer Angel if you keep having energy to spend. A simple little combat trick, not that exciting. This is a way that if you can keep triggering the Morbid, will keep making 1/1s, which is nice in very specific decks, but kind of hard to pull off in any given deck. This card helps you get artifacts and enchantments, which is good in some of the archetypes. And if you don't know what the archetypes for this set are, the color combinations, every 2-color combination has an archetype. You can go and check out my video yesterday covering all those to help you out a little bit. This one bridges some of them a little bit, which is nice. 3 mana, 2/2 that can either be a 3/3 or you energy or make a servo. Totally decent card, nothing to get super stoked about. Another one of these. I like this Unicorn. It's a nice bestow creature, so it can come down on a bigger creature and give out counters with the Mentor. Also, just being a 2 mana 2/2 if you need it to be is nice. This Proud Pack Rhino is great. This is 3 mana 3/3 that can come with a shield counter or put a shield counter somewhere else. So this is a really nice creature. And then this Kite is pretty solid as a 1 mana 1/1 flyer that you can convert to giving something else flying later in the game. So some decent cards for sure. I think the best thing by far is this Voltstorm Angel. Notably, no removal spells. So there's no removal hanging out here in white, which is certainly an issue. Let's go take a look at blue here. Crypto Shapeshifter, not that exciting. Lets you be a bunch of different creatures. 4 mana 3/3 flyer is like decent. That's the main one I think you're going to cast this out as a lot of the time. Cephalid Coliseum is really nice as a land that can draw you 3 cards late. It does deal a damage to you every time you tap it, but in general, I think you're often likely to get the threshold as long as you're a mid-speed deck at the very least. So the ability to draw 3 cards and discard 3 cards late is strong enough to make this Coliseum worth it. It was, it's a reprint. It's a nice one. This card is really exciting. Now it does cost 6 mana, which is a lot, but it will, if you play it in your first main phase, it will happen immediately that turn, which is great. Which is you basically get to draw 2 cards every turn because there's 2 draw steps. You have to untap your stuff at the end of your turn. So it lets you basically gives all your stuff vigilance to untap all your mana and lets you draw 2 cards a turn. So this card can be quite strong when cast. Deep Analysis is also a very strong card. This is basically a 4-for-1 at common, which is kind of, or uncommon, which is kind of unheard of. Lets you draw 2 cards and then flash it back to draw 2 more cards. Very strong card. This is sort of like a Mana Leak variant. You counterspell unless they pay equal to the amount of energy that you pay, and you get 2 energy, so this is a nice card for a controlling deck. Not going to blow the doors off anything, but totally decent. This is, yeah, so here's one of the sagas in the set, Tamio Meets the Story Circle. First chapter is you shrink their stuff. Second chapter is you get to discard some cards and investigate twice that many times. Third chapter is you shuffle some cards in. The shuffling in, not that relevant. The first ability, kind of nice, like it buys you a turn of being attacked. It's the middle one is the one you really want to be able to get use out of, which is, can you pitch a bunch of like extra lands to be able to investigate a bunch of times. Reform, solid card. It's a 0-1 for 4 mana, which is not great, but it dies into a 3-3 and then a 6-6 and then a 9-9. So the amount of like, hey, don't attack me because I'm going to get bigger and better creatures every time this card gives you is a lot, although it is weak to bounce spells, notably. Draw 4, put 2 back on top. It's like a divination, sort of a better divination, I would say. This card can be quite strong in the right archetype, so that's nice. Death Defiler here. If you just play it and you don't kick it, lets you pick up one of their creatures or let you draw 2 and discard 1, which is quite strong. And then if you are able to kick it, which you need that colorless mana for, once again, you get to do both, which is pretty good. So yeah, this is solid. And blue is one of the Eldrazi colors, so it's very doable. This is a Merfolk Looter. You can use it at least twice and gives you energy. You can keep paying into it, so that card's pretty solid. This is a clone that also gets to connive every time it attacks, which is pretty solid as well. Electrozoa is a solid energy card, 3 mana, 3/1 flyer. You have to keep giving it an energy every turn so it can attack, but 3 mana, 3/1 flyer is a great rate. It also has flash, so a little bit of, you can surprise someone as a blocker there. This is a kind of big Frost Lynx, which is totally fine, not blowing the doors off, but acceptable. This is the weird pre-release card. It's sort of like a funky combat trick where you get to make a bunch of their stuff 1/1s. I think you'd probably play this a lot of the time if you can even storm it for 1 and kill off 2 of their creatures. It's pretty good. And then if you're playing some of those Eldrazi we saw earlier, the Sage of the Unknowable is pretty solid, letting you ramp your colorless spells. So blue looks pretty good overall. It's got some strong card draw. It's got some decent creatures. It is missing removal once again. Maybe there's another color that can supplement that. It's hard to count like this counter spell as a removal. I wouldn't really do that. But yeah, blue definitely looks pretty solid here. Let's dig into black. See if we can find any removal in black. All right, so this is a card that will help you get modified. Black-green is the modified adapt archetype. And also, when you adapt it, you get to draw 2 cards and lose 2 life. So nice little 2-for-1 at common here if you sink enough mana into it. A little expensive, but not too shabby. This makes each player sack a non-token creature, which is, these kind of effects often cost 3 mana on a 2-drop. This is one is, I think, even better than the 3 mana ones because they're sacking non-tokens, and that's often how people get around these clauses. So this card is pretty decent, killing off their stuff. This deals damage equal to the number of swamps you control. It is probably going to fire off in limited. I would plan on it, in mid-game being like 3 is a safe number you can expect this to hit. Late game, of course, it scales up really nicely and can be like, deal 4, gain 4 or something. So yeah, this card is quite nice. And a pretty solid removal spell. This is a 2/3 that when it ETBs or attacks connives. A solid card. Gives you a little bit of card flow. Not anything too wacky, but it's nice. This one is a 2 mana 1/1 menace that gets a counter when it hits them. You can also take counter off one of their things that they have any, but the main thing is it gets a counter when it hits them, so it's going to grow. And if you have this on the play, it's pretty, and your opponent can't kill it, it can snowball, which is really nice. This Familiar is great if you have enough artifacts. Black-red is the artifact archetype, so if you're able to affinity this down, even for just a cost reduction of 1, 3 mana 2/1 flyer, they discard a card is solid. Here's just a nice removal spell. 3 mana, murder. You'll gain at least 1 life, probably. Hopefully some more. This is a 3 mana 1/3 that wants you to draw a bunch of extra cards. So good with some of those blue cards we saw, maybe. You need to drain them for 2 if you draw a bunch of extra cards this turn. There's this guy who is pretty medium. I mean, he's a 2 mana 2/1 lifelinker. He's okay. And then this guy, the guy that comes back, you can adapt him. Black looks okay. It's got some good removal spells, which I like. In these 3 removal spells, it also has the Slith. But other than that, it's a little light. We'll have to see what the gold cards have to offer in black. Let's take a look at red. So red's got 2 mana deal 4. Great. This is a card I get very excited about. So Fanged Fangs, excellent. Arena of Glory is it's a land that gives you 2 mana, which you always have to be thinking about. Now, that mana, I guess it doesn't really give you 2 mana. Never mind. excuse me, because it's you pay red and tap it, which is the 2 mana that you're spending. But it does give the creature you cast haste, which is, yeah, I would play this certainly in a red deck. So it's kind of free roll. This card is pretty okay. It's just active treason. This card is not that exciting, makes stuff not block, and it's a double face card, which is nice, but not going to win any awards. 2 mana, 3/1, fine. You can kick it up to make it a 5/3 haste. Well, it's solid. This card is sort of a removal spell. It deals 3 damage as you choose, which is really nice. Like, Arc Lightning is great. It's also a creature. The RRR is tricky though. Like, you cannot cast this on turn 3. Do not expect to cast this on turn 3. You gotta wait till a longer game. So it's a little trickier than it looks. It's easy to have this die in your hand. This card's sort of removal. You can wait for 5 mana, I guess, and play it and blow something up. But you know, you can also play it on 1 mana and attack. It's okay. It's not a very efficient removal spell. This is a very efficient removal spell by comparison, though. 1 mana, get 3 energy, spend that many to deal that much. It's like a lightning bolt for creatures. Creatures and planeswalkers only. Quite strong. Great removal spell. Here's a rare Aether Revolt that wants stuff to leave the battlefield so you can deal more damage. But also relevantly, whenever you get energy, you get to deal that much damage to any target. So if you're playing some kind of energy strategy, this is super strong. We'll have to see if we end up in some kind of energy deck. This is 3 mana, 3/3 menace, which is already exciting enough to play. And if you sack stuff, you get Eldrazi Spawn, so that is nice. And then this Axe is just an aggressive energy card. Gives you 2 energy, and you can re-equip it for 2 energy. And it's auto snaps on. Red looks decent. It's got some removal spells. If we do go an energy route, if like we want to try and go in a blue-red energy deck, there's some really nice energy stuff in here, so that'd be something we should keep in mind. Let's look over at green. See what we got here. Now, the green stack, I'll note, is very short. It's only 8 green cards, though we haven't looked at the multicolored cards yet. Now, this might, for many people, this might be discouraging. Like, oh, there's only 8 cards. Let's just throw them away. Don't even worry about it. But keep in mind that when you're only choosing 17 cards to play, if all 8 of these cards are bangers and enough of them are really strong, you don't. That can be enough, right? The extra cards leaving your sideboard don't do a lot for you. So while having a lot of cards in a color can help indicate how playable that color might be, it's not actually as useful as looking at the cards, because maybe if all 8 of these are great, we will want to, we'll want to end up in green. Right, so this is a 5, so speaking of strong cards, this is a 5 mana 7/5, which is already solid rate, and also basically has landfall. Look at your top card. If it's a creature, you get to draw it. Otherwise, it's sort of like surveilling, so it's surveil 1. If it's a creature, you get to draw it. The card is quite strong. We have Foul Strike. This card is also very decent because you get to either kill a flyer or put 2 counters on a creature you control for 3 mana with the Reinforce, so very solid card. Nightshade Dryad is a mana creature. It's funny because it makes colorless mana and 1 mana of any color, so you can cast your Eldrazi, so it kind of makes it all. Very solid green card. This Repurposer is great. When you cast it or dies, it makes a spawn. And it's a 3 mana 3/3 to boot, so yeah, that card's pretty good. The Hydra, also quite good. This is a common Hydra, which is pretty wacky to say. Like, it's Ivy Elemental, basically, with extra toughness, and you can bestow it, so a very strong green common. Signature Slam is a removal spell. You put a counter on something and then deal damage equal to power for all your modified creatures. Great removal spell in green. This Temperamental Oozewag is a 4 mana 4/4 that you can adapt into a 6/6 and gives all your modified creatures trample. Quite strong. And the Colossal Dreadmask is, of course, the strongest creature in all of Magic, Colossal Dreadmaw, that can re-equip. So actually, I mean, I didn't know what the cards were before, but all 8 of these are pretty strong. So green actually looks pretty decent to me. It's definitely should be on the table as an option. It's got a removal spell. It's got some solid creatures. It is not very deep, but it does have a lot going on. We'll take a look at our artifacts next. Junk Dive, if you're playing an artifact deck, is solid. Otherwise, you're probably not going to play it. Just gets you an artifact back from your graveyard. This Glaring Fleshwrecker, once again, you need colorless mana to play, so it's pretty tricky to play in a sealed deck, although we have some lands that will help out with that. This does let you get spawns whenever you cast colorless spells and deal damage to your opponents, but you have to be pretty Eldrazi heavy to want to play this Fleshraker, I think. There's Groundyard Lurker in comparison. If you're playing some kind of ramping Eldrazi deck, this is a very solid card to have around. Also, 3 mana, draw a card, make a 0/1, very solid in the cycling mode as well, because whenever you cycle or cast it, you make the spawn. So this is a card that is pretty decent and might play in blue. And then Jet Medallion, this actually go in the black stack. It makes sure black spells cost 1 less to cast, which we might play if we play black, depending on the cards we play. Okay, now there's this just gigantic multicolored stack. So let's take a look at all the cool stuff we have here. Great card in Red-Green Eldrazi. So Red-Green is kind of about Eldrazi spawn. Shout out to Good Games Morley that previewed this card. That was a really fun preview video. This card is, very strong. Because whenever you cast it and whenever it attacks, you put a counter on all your colorless creatures. So when you cast it, it pumps all your colorless creatures. And also when it attacks it, it counts itself too, so it puts a counter on itself. So you're attacking with a 6/6 Trampler the first time you do so. So yeah, very strong red, green, gold cards. The gold cards I find are also often quite powerful. So right, in this set you have these double-faced cards that are a land on one side and a spell on the other. So this is either a green-white dual land or a pump spell for all your creatures and enchantments. This is a hybrid card, so you can play it in green or white. So I guess this really deserves probably a different stack. It can go in green or white. But yeah, if you're playing green-white, you will definitely play this to be able to splash. And you might play it, or to be able to fix your mana, and you might play it some other times too. This is a great card if you're in green or blue for your Eldrazi. 7 mana, 7/6 that makes 2 spawns, and it's also a green-blue dual land on the other side. So quite a nice card. Put that in the hybrid stack too. Expanding Ooze is a solid common for black-green if we choose to go down the black-green path. Nothing to write home about though. The Writhing Chrysalis is in the red-green Eldrazi Scion deck, or Eldrazi Spawn deck rather. When you cast it, you make some 0/1s, and whenever you sack Eldrazi, it gets counters. So even if you just crack them right away, it's a 4/5 reach at its base, and it's pretty easy to make it even bigger. So that's pretty exciting if we go in the red-green deck. Here's a great card for the green-blue ramp deck, right? It's 3 mana, 1/3 that ramps you 2, and then eventually lets you draw more cards. Also, it's an Eldrazi Turtle, so that's kind of sick. So this is an interesting one. So in the play boosters, you can get some commander cards. Here is Omo, Queen of Vesuva, the face card of the green-blue commander deck, which doesn't really hook into anything, but it does notably fix your mana. So it kind of fixes your mana and is a 1/5 for 3, which is maybe playable. Probably not going to make our deck, but maybe playable. Genku is an exciting white-blue rare. Once you just have to leave the battlefield, when they do, you get tokens. So it's good with blinking, good with bouncing stuff back to your hand, and so on. It also has the ability for 5 mana to put a counter on your team, which is quite strong. So this card is very, very good. It's very powerful. Just being able to block and get a token back and then eventually pump your team is huge. So very strong card here if you can play it. Although I don't know, the white-blue is where we're going to want to end up. This is 3 mana, 3/3 Vig, and green-white, so just a solid card. Blue-red is the energy color pair, or one of the energy color pairs, and so this is a nice card for that deck. It gives you 3 energy, and when it dies, you get to pay some energy to deal damage, so solid removal spell. This is a take on Psychotog with the Psychic Frog. It's sort of like a Psychotog, or that you get to also draw cards when you hit them, and the counters are permanent, and you can give it flying, so yeah, it's really just a lot better than Psychotog, probably. Although you can't exile from your graveyard. But yeah, this is a very strong card. You play this on turn 2. Next turn you can just attack, discard a card, hit him for 2, draw a card. It's very hard to block on turn 2 or turn 3. So I guess you're not attacking on turn 3, but it's very hard to block on turn 3 or turn 4. So very strong blue-black card. That could be very good if we go blue-black. Here's the black-green Trick or Dual End and Revitalizing Repeat. Here is a pretty strong, actually, white-blue hybrid card where you get to tap all their creatures, and then you get to pay some energy to stun them if you're in the energy colors, or have enough energy, which is great. Oh, the Cranial Ram. Plenty of tweets I've received about this card. More on that another time. But yeah, this is, if you're playing black-red artifacts, it's good. I don't think we're going to end up black-red artifacts, but this card is pretty decent. Anna Kennerud Sky Captain, which is an Esper Mythic Rare. This cares about modified stuff, and it is very good, even on its own, as 5 mana, 4/4 flying, lifelink, ward, discard a card. The mana for this might end up being a little bit rough for us, but if we can play this, if it's easy to splash, it's super strong. 5 mana, 4/4 flying, lifelink, ward, with extra stuff going on, and this ability isn't nothing, right? This has plenty of stuff that it can do, is very powerful. Oops, come back. And then finally we have Kudo, King Among Bears. If you play green-white, maybe you play this card. It's like, makes everything a 2/2. Yeah, maybe there are reasons you would feel like playing this, but if you have a lot of counters in your deck, for example, if you're adapting a bunch, this lets you have the best creatures on the battlefield. So that's something you could do with this. Okay, so now, what do we do from here? Let's take a look. So I think the white is not the strongest. Oh, sorry. Well, we should look through our lands. Excuse me. there's one section left to look at. Now we got a bunch of these landscapes. These are just all a cycle of lands that you can tap for colorless or tap and sack to find one of 3 different colors. Put on the battlefield, tap, then shuffle, and also have cycling, which is nice. And the snow-covered wastes. We'll probably not play the snow-covered wastes, but it's certainly, I guess, if we went really heavy on Eldrazi, it's a possibility. Okay, so there's a lot to consider here. So let me run through what I think some of the top options are. One thing that really excites me that I saw is just the blue-red energy deck. Like, our blue, I think, is pretty deep and solid. It's got some good card draw. I think Shadow of the Second Sun is pretty decent. It's got some pretty solid creatures, and it's got some stuff to make the energy deck work. It's got some cards that care about energy. And red had a couple good removal spells, as well as it's got this cool rare that cares about energy, and we got the blue-red gold card, so there's a lot to go there. It's also possible, if, as we start laying it out, we could even go blue-red-white energy and play some of these other energy cards here, which could be pretty nice. And actually, let's check if we got a appropriate land for that. Yeah, we even got a blue-red-white land here in the Perilous landscape. And here's a red-white landscape, another red-white landscape. So we have 3 pieces of mana fixing for that, which makes it very doable. So it's certainly on the table as a thing that could happen. Another avenue to go down is, instead of being blue-red, it would be blue-black. So blue-black is about drawing extra cards. Black has 2 pretty decent pieces of removal, and then just playing the cards that I'll play and be happy about. Like this Accursed Marauder is solid, this Gargantua is solid, the Slith is solid, and we got that Psychic Frog, which on turn 2 this card is really strong. And I think if we did that, we might be able to splash Arna Kennerud as well, play white. Another thing that if we did that is we probably could splash and play both Genku and Arnu Kennerud. Like being somewhere in blue, white, black lets us play both these, which is very appealing, given that those are both quite strong cards. I need to play Psychic Frog as well, another one of our strongest cards. So that's really leaping out to me. And then another option is we do go down some kind of Eldrazi path. Probably, maybe red-green, or blue-green, or maybe a combination of the 3. But all 8 of these green cards were pretty decent. And then you look at the gold cards, and we got the Void Craw in blue-green, and both of these in red-green. And the Titan's Vanguard is very, very powerful. I think the thing I'm seeing that I like the most and I want to try laying out to start with is the white, blue, black deck. That's the thing that really appeals to me. These 3 rares are all pretty strong. And, like white wasn't super deep, but there were some strong cards in there. So what we'll do is we'll lay that out first. We'll look at it. And then we'll build an alternate deck, depending on how that looks. I'll try out one of these Eldrazi decks and just see what they're looking like. And actually kind of in a fun way, blue, white, black, and red, green Eldrazi are going to have very limited overlap. It might just be like some hybrid cards or something that they take. So we can even, have 2 different decks. Sometimes at the pre-release, I'll build 2 decks and play one game and switch to another one the next game, which is always a lot of fun. So let's see what this deck's going to look like, the white, blue, black deck, and see how it all comes together. So I'll set these off to the side for a second, set some of these cards off to the side. And we'll start lining this up and seeing what it looks like. I'm just going to put this Drown Yard Looker here. And usually what I start doing is looking at any cards I think I'm just not going to play with based on my pool. Is I just take them, I set them aside face down. So like Junk Diver, Glaring Flesh Raker. At this point, I'd be surprised if I played either of these cards. Maybe if I go the Eldrazi deck, I might play this Flesh Raker, but I'm just going to set it over here for now. Set it kind of face down off to the side. All right, and let's start laying out this deck. So I know if we play white, blue, black, I'm going to want to play Genku and Arna Kennerud, and we want to play this Psychic Frog. And I think those are the only gold cards we'll want to play. So those I'll go over the side. And then let's, now Psychic Frog definitely implies that you want to have your blue-black early in the game, so you can play this on turn 2. So maybe we end up base blue-black with a splash of white, which would make sense for our lower, for having less white stuff to do. So I'm just going to kind of start laying out. And I mentioned this in my video previously, but what I like to do is lay out the creatures up top and the spells down below. You want to put the cards that you're going to cast on that turn higher, because this is the turn you'll actually cast them, so you can see what your mana curve is like. Breathe Your Last is a removal spell. You're not actually going to cast it on the 3rd turn a lot of the time. So put these guys down. Yeah, the Dream Drinker Vampire can fit in here. I don't know if I want to play these. Like Jet Medallion is not going to be good in a 3-color deck, so that's probably not. This card is going to deal like 2 and gain 2, and it's BB, so the mana's kind of rough. Maybe we could play it. I'll put it down, but The mana is probably going to be kind of rough in this deck. And I don't think we're going to have enough artifacts to justify these guys. Although, I mean, maybe we could. But I'll set them off to the side for now. Now we'll look at our blue. And, Cephalid Coliseum. Yeah, maybe we'll end up playing that. So Deep Analysis, awesome card draw. Maybe we'll want the Aether Spike on turn 2. Reefworm to buy time. Brain Surge does more card draw. Blue-black is kind of card draw themed, so opportunities to do that is solid. I think this Looter is still good even if you don't have a ton of energy going into your deck. I would play this copy spell. I might play this Meddler. I might consider it. I don't think the Sage is going to make this deck. I don't have enough colorless stuff going on. I might play the Drownyard Lurker, and I'm going to count it as a 3-mana spell that makes a spawn. I'd play this Shadow, which I think is pretty decent. Electrozoa is okay. There's not a lot of energy in this deck. I would play this Amphibian Downpour. I might consider this as a 4-mana 3/3 flyer. I don't think Tammy Meets the Story Circle is going to be good enough in this deck. You can like discard a land and get 2 clues. I don't know. It takes a lot of setup and time to make this thing that exciting. So I think, yeah, it probably looks like this. And then we look at our white cards. I do want to play this Voltstorm Angel, even though it's 2 white mana. I think I want to play this Slith, which is, yeah, if you can get a single counter on it, is pretty good. This Muster the Departed, I think is probably not strong enough. This wants artifacts and enchantments. I don't have a ton of those lying around. The Inventor is fine. Oh, white is. I forgot just how shallow white is in terms of options. Yeah, I think what it would probably do is just blue-black splash white. I just don't think anything here is going to be worth playing a ton of blue for. So it's really just blue-black splashing white. And then let's look at these hybrid cards. Do I want Suppression Ray? I'll play it. I guess this is a mana-fixing land, so I might consider playing it for that reason. I don't think I'm going to want this Omo. It's a 1/5. I can grant everything all creature types and fix my mana. I don't love it. I might play this Drowner of Truth, though, just as a big 7-drop. That's like on the table at least. I don't think I'll play the Strength of the Harvest. So if we were to go down this path, maybe this Consuming Corruption gets a lot better now because your base blue-black. So if you did something like this, here's the shape of what the deck would look like. I think I would probably not play this ultimately. I'd have a pretty light blue splash or pretty light white splash. So things I note: lots of 2-drops, which is good. Love having this many 2-drops. There's a little bit of glare there. I'm sorry. I'll try and maybe shift these over a little bit because of my lighting setup. 11 this many 2-drops. That's awesome to see. Although Curse Marauders, you're not gonna play on turn 2 a lot of the time. It's really more like I'll probably put it up here. It's probably more like a 3 or 4-drop. So decent 2-drops. Aether Spike is kind of like a 2-drop. I think you can even count it as that because you want to counter what they play. 3-drops much weaker. Electrozoa not the best in this deck. Kami of Jealous Thirst is pretty medium. If you draw 3 cards, you get to make them lose 2 life and you gain 2 life, which is awesome. Otherwise, you can do it for 5 mana. Otherwise, 3 mana, 1 through Death Touch is not the greatest. 4 mana cards are alright. 5 mana cards are alright. This deck looks totally serviceable. You know, you've got a couple removal spells here. This is sort of like a removal spell, the Amphibian Downpour. This deck looks okay to me. I would not be sad about playing this deck. I would love it to have like a little bit more in the 3-drop category. Maybe you could play this. Maybe Omo you play. I don't love it. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll see how many cards this is. I guess you'll cycle this on turn 3, so that kind of counts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. This is 25 cards, so we're pretty close here. We have to cut a couple cards. But something like this, I'd probably cut like this Meddler and probably one of these 4-drops, maybe like the Sentry or something. But okay, this is a decent representation of what the blue-black deck would look like. Blue-black splash white deck. Plays 2 of our bomb blue-white cards, which is nice. Little weak on the 3-drop spot. Let's play our removal. This deck looks solid. We might end up going with this. Let's take a look at a different build, though. Let's look at that red-green Eldrazi deck. And then probably maybe green-blue Eldrazi as well, and see what that looks like. So let's lay that out here. So we'll start by grabbing these cool red-green cards. Those guys are great. It's very exciting. And then we're going to play, I think, probably all of our mono green cards, which is kind of wild, but true. Nyxborn Hydra, I guess I'll just count. I really want to count as like a 4-drop, maybe. I think we'll want to start playing that card. But it's obviously, X spells are pretty flexible on your mana curve. The Drowner of Truth, I think, would play in this deck, so that can go there. Not going to play any of... Oh, we will play the Sage of the Ennoble when we get to the blue version. Let's see what's picked up here, too. Looking at our red cards we want to play. We play this Arena of Glory. Play the Void Pouncer. You can play that on turn 2. I think you're going to want to play on turn 5 a lot of the time. Mog Mob is like a card you will probably play, but I'd probably count as like a 5-drop. As is this. Like I guess we can just count the Simulacrum as a 5-drop removal spell. Discharge, great. 1 mana, deal 3. Aether Revolt, not as good in this deck. The Skittering Precursor is here. Okay, so we laid out the red-green deck, and some things immediately become apparent. Not only are there like not really enough cards to make it work, I'm just going to double check the deck I put aside, make sure I'm not like missing a hybrid card or something. Not only are there not really enough cards to make it work, like this is just not enough playables. It's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. It's only 16 cards, but the curve is really bad, right? There's like 2 2-drops, 2 3-drops, and then you run out of stuff. So red-green, definitely not the way to go. I can pretty quickly discount this deck. I am interested in looking at green-blue, because the blue was pretty deep. Maybe red-green-blue could work as well. Let's just see what the green-blue Eldrazi deck would look like if we were to do that. Because that deck looked like there might be some legs here. So I'm going to pull some stuff out of the blue-black deck here. And just see what this would do. We definitely get a lot of Eldrazi. There's some cool Eldrazi that we would get to play with if we did this. I don't think we want the Electro... Maybe we want the Electrozoa here. Not sure. But the Shadow of the Second Sun. I guess this is really a 6-drop. It should go up here because you're going to play it on curve a lot of the time. Aether Spike is technically a 2-drop. Tempest Harvester... Or it's not technically a 2-drop, but it can be. I play this Downpour. I play this Brain Surge. That looks okay. I think I'm missing a blue-green 3-drop as well. Right, the Snapping Void Craw helps out. Can I play this Glaring Flesh Raker in this deck? Maybe I can actually pull it off here. Like I have a bunch of the landscapes. I could imagine if you play some landscapes. Am I going to want to play any? Probably want to play 1 landscape. It's pretty hard. Just getting the colorless mana to cast this is pretty difficult. Where did I have the 2 mana creature? Where did he go? So hiding around here somewhere. There's that 2 mana. There we are, the Sage of the Unknowable. So here's the green-blue deck, or the beginnings of it. This looks okay. Yeah, it looks just okay to me. We only have one, I guess 2 removal spells here. We have to play our best card draw, but what is green adding over what the black was adding? Not that much. Like, the green has some individual good cards, but it's not as good as whatever the black was doing. Which leads me to believe this is probably not the right direction. I don't think that blue, red, green is going to really help out that much. Like, the red cards you would get are... You get, like, these as the really exciting red cards. You get the Titan's Vanguard, the Chrysalis, the Skittering Precursor, maybe, and the Galvanic Discharge. Yeah, this does not... I don't think this looks better than the black, blue, splash, white deck to me. Like, we don't get to play our bombs, really, or any more bombs this way. So I think this is not the way to go. All right, so then the last deck I want to look at is blue-red. I'm just curious what the energy build looks like. So let's just take a look at that blue-red deck and see what kind of the core of that is. I think red is just too shallow, but maybe there's enough. We'll take a look at it and see. So we would get to play this Fanged Flames. I don't think this is super good. It's just like Active Treason on a 3/3. We would play this Aether Revolts. We play this Inventor's Actually, just look how shallow this is. There's just so few red cards I'm interested in. Play this Galvanic Discharge. This is down here. You can play this in Mog Mob. Maybe we'll even be generous and say you can play it on turn 4. Maybe you can play that as a 2-drop. This is a 5-drop removal spell. You could put it in your deck. And then on the blue side, would play this. Could play this. You're definitely gonna play that. Could play this. Could play this. Could play this. The Electrozoa is definitely at best in this deck. Would play Deep Analysis. Play the Brain Surge, the Downpour. Like, you could play this, I guess. This does not look anywhere close to as good as the blue-black-white deck, I think. I think the blue-black-splash-white deck is probably where it's at here. So let's try and finalize that. I think that is... It has the best-looking curve. It lets us play all of our strongest, or many of our strongest cards. You know, in sealed deck, often you just want to try and maximize your strong cards. So yeah, no. If you have strong bombs, and you know the games will tend to go a tad longer, it makes sense to try and play them if you can. All right, so in blue, I'm going to play this, and maybe these guys. I could consider playing these. Don't know if I'm going to play all of them. Want to figure out the mana bases. I always get a lot of comments about how would you build the mana base here, and I'm like, oh, I should tell you all. So. Not going to skip that this time around. I'll tell you what lands we're going to play in. All right, so let's lay this back out, and I'll kind of tell you what I'm thinking as we make our last few cuts. I think I'm going to count this as it's like a 3 or 4. I'll just count it as a 3-drop. Psychic Frog is so exciting. That card is going to be really cool if you pull it off here. Maybe this Drowner of Truth. I mean, the barrier of entry in playing Drowner of Truth is so low because it is a land on the other side. So even if you draw it, you don't want it. The fact you can just play it as a land is so huge. I mean, these modal double face cards are just so powerful. Powerful for that reason. And it also makes it easier to splash. It's very easy to splash in this format. You just play some of those in your deck, and you just put them as lands if you want to. I don't think we're going to play this Monumental Hedge in white. Any other white cards I would want to splash? I don't think so. I think I want the splash to be pretty minor. I'll put these in like the maybe stack. There is this Suppression Ray, which is like technically a white-blue dual land. Maybe we end up playing this. Put this in the land stack because I think just like casting is not going to happen super often. If I have some energy lying around, maybe. Okay, and then there's this as well for a black-green, like, put a counter. I don't think I'm going to end up playing that in this deck. Okay, so here's what we've laid out. And so what I normally do, this is a trick I picked up from limited expert Brian Wong, and so I lay out all the cards I like could play with, and then I pull back all the ones that are maybes. So, like, all these I feel pretty good about wanting. So all these spells down here, I think I'm going to want to play. Drowner of Truth is a maybe. Petrifying Meddler is a maybe. This I'm going to want to play for sure. The Scurrilous Sentry is definitely a maybe. The Corrupted Shapeshifter is definitely a maybe. I think the rest of these I'm going to want to play. Omo and Electrozoa are maybes. I think the Slith is probably pretty good. Like, it just snowballs when you start hitting them. This 2-1 Lifelinker is good in a slower deck that wants to take the time. I think this Looter is probably going to be worth doing. 2-mana, 2-1 that lets you loot twice is really nice. The counter spell is a maybe. So what you do is you pick up all your maybe cards, which is what I just did, and then you count how many cards you have left over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So there's 18 cards here. We want to play 23 total. I guess I'll put this up here maybe. These modal double face cards are weird. But so there's 18 cards down here. We want to play 23 total cards. So then once you see what the core of your deck is, you can look through the remaining cards and decide which ones you want to play based on the information of your deck. So that really helps you fill in holes. For example, like looking at this, I can just tell I really would like to have another 3-drop here. In fact, did I lose? Sorry, I lost over in the stack somewhere. I lost that 7-drop that cycled, which I think is got to be in contention for a card I might put in this deck. I don't think the 0/4 that lets you cast colorless spells is going to be, though. I think that guy falls a little bit short. But yeah, here we are, the Drown Yard Lurker. There's a card you'll cycle on turn 3 potentially. So this is also a maybe. Okay, So things I know we're going to want are, we definitely need at least one more thing to do on turn 3. And these are basically our options: Electrozoa, Drownyard Lurker, Cycling, or Omo. I think my favorite option is probably Electrozoa. If you run out of energy, it does get bad. But the fact you can try and trade it off as a combat trick is kind of nice. What are other things make energy? There's a Tempest Harvester that makes energy. And then I guess that's it at the end. Man, maybe that is just a little too rough. I think make a 0/1 that can ramp you into one of our 5 drops, and also modality of like playing as a 7-mana card makes this an acceptable card to play. And I do think I probably want one more. Brain Surge you can like kind of play on turn 3, I guess. I kind of want one more 3-drop. Especially just like a creature that can come in. Man, is 3 mana, 1/5, fix your mana enough? It might just be. It might just be enough to be worth it. It's pretty, not my favorite though. It gives everything in creature type. Maybe we just make it work with these guys and a little on 3s. If that's the case, we're definitely gonna want to play the 2s that we have. Like Aether Spike, I think we are going to want to play as counterspell that you can cast on turn 2. Also gives you energy for the Tempest Harvester, which is nice. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So we need 3 more cards from among this mix. So we have 3 5-drops. So I guess I'm pretty satisfied with those. Probably we use one more 4-drop. Is usually like about the right amount. This enters, and whenever it enters or attacks, you connive. I think that's going to be good for us here. Instead of the 4 mana 3/3 flyer, I could even see playing both of them potentially. No, I guess I want to pitch land sometimes. All right, I'm going to play this Shapeshifter. I think maybe I play the Scurrilous Sentry. I think I probably don't need this random 4 mana 4/5 tap your guy. And I think I do want to play this Drowner of Truth just because the barrier on it is just so low to play. And this, you can kind of count this as a land. Sort of a land. And I think I'll play the Suppression Ray probably. So between these two cards, I can play 16 lands in my, we'll count it like this. I'll play 16 lands in my deck, but I'll count both of these. So, so yeah, these are basically like half a land or so. So I think we get, what, 2 more cards? I don't think I want this Transmogrant. I mean, it can come back with 2 counters, which is nice, but I don't have a way to like discard. I guess I could discard to the Psychic Frog. It is really good discarded to Psychic Frog. That is true. I don't know. I think I got to eat my veggies a little bit. I think I need to play one more 3-drop, and it's either the Electrozoa or Omo. I do have maybe I have enough energy lying around that it's going to be okay. Like I can play the Electrozoa, trade with their creature, keep the 2 energy counters, and spend it on like the Harvester or something later. I think I'll try this Electrozoa. 1/5 is just such, in Horned Turtles ain't what it used to be, you know. So I think we're gonna not go with this Omo. FOMO, Omo. I don't think I want to play any of these guys. So I think I'm gonna cut these, and maybe I play this. I can play this Sentry. One more pass through these to make sure I'm not missing anything I might want. Sometimes, you know, you're just cutting cards and stuff goes into weird stacks and you miss it. No, I think I'm not gonna play this Jet Medallion in this deck. Don't think I want to play this combat trick. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. This is 25 cards, so we need to cut 1 because I'm going for 16 lands, not counting these guys. Cut 1 card from this deck. Maybe it should be a 4-drop. Maybe I should just be responsible. Playing 5 4-drops is a lot of 4-drops. The Sentry seems like the most reasonable one to me. Either that or the Shapeshifter are the cards that look like the ones to maybe cut. I guess I'm going to cut. How much is my flying count? I'm like maybe a little low on flying. I might want some ways to break through. I guess I'll cut this Sentry. Okay. So I think this is what I would register. And then in terms of lands, yeah, which lands do I want to play? So I've got both these. I get to play 16 lands in my deck. Do I want to play Cephalid Coliseum? It's usually, like, the draw 3 cards on this is really huge. You might take a lot of damage from it if you play it early. Is it worth taking 3 or 4 damage? Are enough permanents going to get into my graveyard? It actually might not be worth it in this deck, sadly. So maybe we don't play the Cephalid Coliseum, although it is so strong in the late game as a land that lets you, draw 3 cards and filter what's going on. In terms of these other guys, so we have 2 white cards in our deck. Let's make sure there's nothing else we wanted to splash, right? Nothing else in white. Yeah, splashing white is like, this card is very strong. If it was single white, I probably would splash it, but white makes it very hard to splash. Nothing else here is enough to really get me stoked. So I need these gold cards, I guess. No. So I think we're gonna want to play 1 plane so that these landscapes can find it. Then we're going to probably want 2 sources, 2 to 3 sources, I would guess. And these tap for colorless naturally. So let's definitely play the one that's, well, I guess there's none that's perfectly on color for us. Yeah, we don't, I care less about these ones that don't get this one that doesn't get the splash color. So I think not the Foreboding Landscape. I think if we play these 3 and 1 planes, we'll be able to hit the white for these with pretty high consistency. So that sounds pretty reasonable to me. It is 3 tap lands plus these other 2 tap lands, which is like a little high. And man, this Cephalid Coliseum, I love this card, and it is so strong when it turns on. Maybe if we draw it early, we'll take a bunch of extra damage. We'll take 4 or 5 damage or more. Probably can't afford to play it, unfortunately. This deck doesn't look like it's super keen to hit threshold. So if we do this, then my mana base is going to be 1 planes, because you want to be able to find it with these 3 lands. So then we're going to play 16 lands, and we have these 4. So, and I think we probably want a pretty even split. 2 of these find black, 1 of them finds blue. So play 1 planes, we get 6 lands left, and we're pretty even on blue and black. Usually I look at the early cards to figure out what I need the most of. Consuming Corruption is the one thing that makes me want to slant towards swamps a little bit here. So I think I'm just going to go 6 swamps, 6 islands. I guess these are both lands that make only blue aligned mana. Maybe I think actually we want 5 islands and 7 swamps. That sounds right. So if we go 5, I would go 5 islands and 7 swamps with this deck. The reason why I split it that way is we have more black. We want black because of the consuming corruptions. But these 2 and these 2 are non-black lands that tap for blue. So if you look at the total number of sources in the deck, you have 7 swamps, so 7, 8, 9, 9 black sources, which is totally fine, and then you have 5, 6, 7, 8 blue sources. So it's really like a 9-8 split favoring swamps, which is fine. So that's how I build this deck. That's how I would do it. I am curious what you all think. What would you have done? Is there a different thing in here that you would have tried to put together a build that maybe I didn't look at? I guess we didn't end up looking at white, blue, red energy. Was there anything there? Let me know what you would have looked at in the comments down below. But I'm pretty happy. I think this deck looks pretty good. Like, you have 3 pretty strong rares here. This is another, I guess, a 4th pretty strong rare. Our mana looks pretty decent. We've got some good removal spells. So I think I'll be happy with this Prerelease deck. I hope this very much helps you out. And let me know what you think in the comments down below. I'll talk with you again soon, and in the meantime, enjoy preparing for your Modern Horizons 3 pre-release. And remember, you got this.